What is up, everyone? Welcome to L2R2 PlayStation Podcast. My name is Fonzie. I'm joined by my co-host, Indie Game Dev, and my UK bruv from another mum, Callum Monroe. Callum, how are you?
Yeah, good. Just UK's like burning alive, so just trying to not melt. Although we are actually currently having a storm. It's the first day of a big storm that's going to last
Whoa.
like a week, which is really strange. Earlier, it was like absolutely tipping it down with rain. Like it sounded like there were cars like hitting the roof, like just like hailstones and everything.
Yeah.
Um, but it's still boiling hot, so I don't know how. I think the temperature is like 24 degrees Celsius at the moment, so maybe like mid 80s in Fahrenheit. But
Wow.
it's like really just strange. But yeah, I'm just not good in the sun. I'm a bit red actually. I don't know if you can see
A little
in the
bit.
sun a little bit, but
Do you guys kind of have, because I feel like
it could be
every
worse.
every week there's kind of extreme weather. Do you guys kind of have it just kind of swaying, like really dramatically?
Yeah, especially in these kind of months, the tail end of sort of July, August, coming into September, we get like a bank holiday at the end of August as well into September, and it's always like a really hot weekend.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, this is definitely the time of year where we start getting like huge heat waves and then storms and rain, and but it always stays hot and humid no matter what. We have really horrible like humidity over here. I think that's why I don't know if you see like the memes online about how I see it a lot about people saying like heat in Britain is just not the same as anywhere else, and because like we've said before, like I mean it was 35 degrees at the weekend, which is like mad here, which is like 95 Fahrenheit.
Okay, yeah.
And I mean that's hot, but I mean over here we get no air conditioning. It's really humid, and like
Right.
we've had no wind either, and we're normally quite windy, which keeps the temperatures down. But there's just been no wind at all, so it's been just really hard to like manage. Like you'll just be standing still and just be pouring with sweat, and there's just nothing you can do about it.
Sounds like a nightmare.
But no, I'm glad. Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah, don't ever come to the
Yeah,
UK.
yeah, you're not really selling it for anyone on the
It's,
fence.
yeah, yeah. Maybe like April time when it's like kind of just coldish. But yeah, there's not a huge amount of reasons to come here.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, I guess not. Nice. What you been playing this week?
So not too much actually. I've been playing just a little bit more Assassin's Creed Origins, and some Alien Nation in bed. Um, yeah, not a lot really. Just those two same games past sort of week or so.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of that. And I guess you finished Tsushima, really, so it's kind of nothing else, on the docket.
Yeah,
Have you been jumping into Fall Guys at all
yeah.
anymore?
I haven't. No, I need to download that. Definitely give it a go. It looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do need to download that. There's a few games I think I'm gonna get back into BioShock, the first game. So I'm really close to the platinum. I just need to like. I think I like finished my playthrough, realized I need to do another playthrough, and then was like, I can't because I've played through it like so
Right.
many times already. I've had like a good break from it now, so I might go back to that. I also want to play Hitman because I've got Hitman 1 and 2 on my PC.
Mm.
I want to play them ready for the third one. And a friend of mine's like really into the new Hitman. Well, he's into all the Hitman games, but he's been playing the new ones recently and has been recommending them. So might jump into those. I've got a few ideas of what I'm going to start playing, but yeah. So far, I've just been trudging through Origins and Alien Nation.
Well, with you mentioned Bioshock, I know it was in the news. I didn't pull it up, but this week that dev Cloud Chamber, who's doing the actual,
Mm.
um, I guess the next entry in the Bioshock franchise, they mentioned that it's not going to take place in Rapture or Columbia, so it's going to be a whole new area. Where would you want to see them take it? Some people have mentioned like space, but then the recent Prey is basically Bioshock in space. So I wonder, where they
Yeah.
take it.
Yeah, I think something sci-fi could be cool. I think there's something very disturbing about BioShock in a lot of ways, especially how I mean you've got like Rapture, which was meant to be this sort of like paradise sort of place, and then it all fell in because of politics or whatever. And then you've got was it Columbia, the place in the sky, which
Yep.
was very much like a paradise with all these dark undertones. So I think having something like that in like a space setting could be quite unique. I don't think we have many like really I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I think space would fit it really well, and I think it's far and it's disconnected enough from the settings of the other games that they could really go in their own direction and sort of separate it from, because there's going to be a huge. I mean, even Bioshock 2 suffered just from the fact Ken Levine didn't write it,
Yeah.
even though it's supposed to be a really great game. So I think just completely coming away from that and going to like space or something like that, I think could be a really good idea for them.
I wonder as well, what are there's kind of bullet points they need to hit with Bioshock. Like there needs to be some kind of topic of like a weird utopia that falls or has issues in a unique setting. So they kind of have to nail these certain bullet points, but at the same time, they're kind of free to do whatever they want as long as they kind of carry that feel and also have like cool enemies and bosses. That was a huge mainstay for like with the big daddies and those
Yeah,
big eagle thing that chases you in Colombia. So like they kind of
yeah.
have
And there's
to.
those like George Washington kind of guys
Right.
with like the minigun, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they had some unique enemies and characters in Colombia.
Mm.
Like, and maybe I should revisit that. I haven't played it since. I mean, maybe since the
Yeah,
PS3 era. Like, I haven't really jumped.
yeah,
And there's the collection, like the remaster. But I have it, but I just haven't really booted those games up
yeah.
in a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. I played the first Bioshock probably, I don't know, 15 times as an estimate, but like just so many times, just because it's so enjoyable and it's come out on so many different platforms as well. I think that's the main reason. Um, but I've never finished Bioshock 2. I've
Same.
played like a few hours of it or so. And yeah, I played Infinite through once. I played it through. It was actually one of the first games I remember playing on my PC when I built my first PC, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was awesome. So yeah, I think the cool thing about the collection is, you play the first Bioshock, and I think it's the same for most people who have played the first Bioshock like over and over. But then you've got these other two great games,
Yep.
and yeah, it's one of those things like a slippery slope, isn't it? You play the first Bioshock, and then you're like, yeah, I want to keep playing through these. But yeah, I think Infinite is a game that doesn't get, not remembered, but sort of talked about a lot anymore, and I think that a lot of people didn't like the more action orientated
Sure.
sort of approach it took. But I think, given the setting, I think it makes sense because it's not quite as confined. I mean, it's not underwater for starters, so it's always going to feel more open and fluid. But I thought it was a great game. I thought I didn't have a single bad thing to say about it when I first played it. I don't know whether my opinions change now if I play it again, but yeah, they're all absolutely brilliant, and I can't wait to see what's coming. And I'm sure that whoever's in charge of it are going to do a great job as long as they sort of understand the roots of Bioshock. What makes them so special.
Right.
Um, so yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, I hope they do lean more into that. There's a little bit of not survival horror, but just like those tense moments in the first one. And one of my favorite scenes in gaming in general, there's that. It's not even a level; it's just a little tidbit. It's in the first Bioshock. Early on, the first time you get the shotgun, you're in this little arena, this really little small room, and the lights go out. There's just this one spotlight on you in the middle, and then those creepers, or whatever they're called, like the splicers, they keep
Mm,
coming out of the woodwork, out of the dark, and like in all directions. So you have to just kind of like just spin around basically and anticipate them. I just love that fucking scene.
yeah,
That was always burning my brain
yeah,
with Bioshock. But actually, my nephews, they're about like 10, 9 years old. They're like super jacked up for Bioshock. They're kind of just like they saw a
awesome.
YouTube video and now they're all about it. And they're constantly asking me
Yeah,
questions. As soon as I meet or see them again, the first thing out of their mouth is just like, "Oh, in Bioshock 2, does this happen? And what about this?" And I'm just like,
yeah.
I don't know. I played it so long ago, but yeah, they love it.
That's awesome. I love that when like little kids get into sort of things that not necessarily they shouldn't, but things that are just cool, like the
Yeah,
way too
it's
cool for their
violent and
age.
scary, like for sure. But
Yeah,
something about it that calls out to kids, to everybody, like it's just such a unique world.
yeah,
But yeah, they're also playing
yeah.
other games they probably should be playing too.
Yeah,
That's
well, I
how it
think that's
goes.
that's the best way to be, though, isn't it? Yeah, you got to sort of get those sort of experiences out the way early, and then you're sort of set for life, aren't you?
That's what I think. But yeah,
Yeah,
so not playing a whole bunch. Beyond that, I've been playing. We were talking a little bit about playing Half-Life Alex, and that's been my jam
yeah,
lately at night. Usually, because it is kind of a whole setup I have to do, and then
yeah,
jump into that world, and I'm loving it more and more. It's I mean easily there hasn't been I guess a whole lot coming out this year. We've had some big games, but like that's my game of the year right now. Like
mm,
just
yeah.
it's so
Nice.
crazy
That's awesome.
immersive. Just loving it. It's crazy all the different puzzles you have to do that are you use your body, you use the VR aspect of it. They're really
Yeah,
on point with how they do that. There is a bit of it's like it's a teeter-totter of these crazy immersive experiences, and I'm loving the gameplay, but then also there's a lot of tweaking I have to do to the settings. There's a lot of issues with my using my Oculus, where if I die, having to load that last save state just crashes the game. That happens a lot. There's a lot of that
Okay,
kind of
yeah,
stuff, frame rates that are just like jittery, and so I'm crazy angry or just like fully pleased with what's happening, and it's like one or the other. It's
yeah,
it's basically happening. But
yeah,
yeah, no, I mean, it's just such a crazy awesome game, and I think that it would have suffered if you did a 2D, or like not 2D, but like a standard FPS kind of thing. They're able to just do
yeah,
so much with getting you in that world. And I know I've read about in the years um, that have come by, like Valve has worked on different prototypes for what the next entry in Half-Life would be, and they kept counseling them because they didn't push the tech forward, they didn't push the whole genre forward. And with Half-Life 2, that's what they did with the whole physics engine in general, using that grav gun.
yeah,
And they were kind of waiting for something to kick off that would like actually give them a reason to kind of change things and innovate. And this is that.
yeah.
But now I wonder, do they make Half-Life 3, which is inevitable now? I think after we have Alex, do they make that, a standard FPS? Do they go back, or do they keep it in VR, which limits the audience, but also that's going to keep pushing that whole tech and genre forward? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a strange one with Half Life because Half Life 3 is 100% the most hyped game of all time. Um, I don't think just because of how good the games are, they are great, but I also think it just sort of like became like a popular
Right.
viral sort of meme thing, kind of like hating on Nickelback
Yeah.
kind of thing. Um, and uh, and yeah, but I think you're absolutely right. I think there's no way that Half-Life 3 will reach the expectations that people have of it. And I think the reason is because Half-Life 2 means so much to everyone because it was just like nothing else at the time. And I mean, it was so far ahead of everything. Even if you play it now and then look at games that came out around the same time, it's just insane. And like you said, it's down to that engine that they built, which changed the games industry forever. So it's still an incredible engine. I mean, if you play when as soon as you play a game on Source, you just know exactly what it's on, and you know how it feels and how it will play and how to do everything. Um, so yeah, I think it's absolutely the right move for them to have not brought it out and waited until there was something that they could, like you said, push forwards or innovate on. So yeah, so I don't know about Half Life 3 now. I mean, I think maybe Alex has sort of like lessened the hype for it. Not that there's anything wrong with Alex, but just the fact there's been a new Half Life entry. It's been awesome.
Right.
Maybe people are sort of it's kind of like taking the sting out of that hype train kind of thing. So maybe they'd now be able to bring out a Half Life 3 and carry on that story. But yeah, it's going to be a tough one. I wouldn't want to be the one in charge of making that decision because it's going to be so difficult to. I mean, even with Last of Us 2, which is probably actually on a far smaller scale. Um, well, not a far smaller scale, but on a smaller scale for sure than Half Life 3. I think you saw the reactions that got, and that's been really detrimental to the people who have worked on it. I mean, you see all online people getting abuse and all of this because they've ruined something that people were extremely excited about.
Yeah.
And I can just imagine Half-Life 3 being nothing but the same, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see it. I'd love to play Half-Life Alex at some point as well. I need to try and rob my little brother's Oculus and plug it into my
Yeah.
PC and try and get that all sorted. But yeah, I'd love a Half-Life 3. I wish it does happen. But yeah, I don't know whether they've already not brought it out because they're obviously worried that it's not going to be different enough. It's not going to raise the bar. It's not going to separate itself from other shooters, which Half Life has to do. So yeah, I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, I think that the more and more we get to uh, as I look forward, I feel like the way to innovate is to keep it in VR, but it sucks that it limits
Mhm.
a lot of people being able to play it. But with Valve, that's kind of what they've done with Half-Life. They need to, like you mentioned, push the bar, and that's really the only other area you can do that in. I guess you could work on physics, but like physics are dope everywhere. I mean, we have ray tracing. It's like, what other features can they innovate to make it special enough and not keep it in VR? I guess they can work on crazy AI, something like that would make this like just a special next gen kind of experience. And I think, I mean, nothing else is on the table besides VR that could really do that. But I don't know. But that would anger. I think that would really anger people, even if they had no interest in playing it. Just like hearing that the next Half-Life 3 is out, but it's only VR, is going to
Yeah,
stink because people were upset that Alex was,
yeah,
only VR. But
yeah,
this whole the package they delivered was, a 10 out of 10 experience. Like it got high accolades from all different publications. Like it was highly renowned, and I'm playing it, and I could say that it's maybe my favorite game of the year, and easily one of my just most cherished experiences as a gamer. Like in playing through Half-Life, Alex, there's times where you're walking through and there's that, you've seen in the trailers, like there's that big vault ship that's kind of floating around. When you see it
yeah,
as you walk into the environment, it just feels like you're there. It's kind of, I've never experienced anything like that. Having the fights, other VR games do this where you have these first person, fights where you kind of duck around corners. The way they do it in Half-Life, Alex, is just to the next level. So it's just they delivered on what they promised. So, but the thing is, I think you kind of have to keep it in VR if you're gonna deliver those expectations. So it's a tough one. But yeah, I don't envy them going forward. But I would say that they are definitely going to tackle Half-Life 3 now, because they have a bit of a
yeah.
buffer with Half-Life Alex in the middle. They got kind of that whole like expectation of when's the next Half-Life thing going to come out. That's out of the way with Alex a little bit. So now they can focus on it, and there's not as much hype and like negative hype, expectations with Half-Life 3. There's a little bit, and there's so much time too. It's been like 10, 15 years, whatever, since episode 2. So they have the benefit of time and also another Half-Life experience in the middle to kind of let them actually, fulfill something with Half-Life 3.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Cool. So yeah, been playing that and really just Fall Guys, jumping into a bunch of Fall Guys.
yeah,
I love that game, man. It's crazy frustrating, but insanely fun. And
yeah,
there was issues like last weekend with the servers. They were down off and on because just so many people trying to jump in. But now usually I can jump into a game pretty easy, and it just works. And I've yet to actually win a game, but one of these days I will get one. But they kind of randomize the levels that you play through, and one of the last ones is crazy frustrating, where you have to grab a tail from one of the little Fall Guys and you have to hold on to it. So it's like capture the flag, but you're like running around with this tail, but anybody can grab it from you, and you have to hold it for
yeah,
the remainder of the round. And at the last second, someone can just pull it from you, which happened to me at like 2 seconds
yeah,
left, and I had held this thing for like 30, 45 seconds. And man, I've never destroyed a controller, never done anything destructive
yeah.
playing games, but this is the one game that makes me feel like murdering someone. Like fuck throwing my
Did you
controller. Like
find
I
the
want to,
guy's address?
yeah, I'm gonna hack their IP and just figure it out,
Yeah,
man. But I love that
yeah,
game.
yeah. No, yeah. I need to get it downloaded and give it a go. It looks like a lot of fun. Um, yeah, yeah. We talked about it last week about all the people moaning about it, but that seems to have died down now, which is good to see.
Yeah, for sure, because they're,
Yeah, I'll have to give it a download.
and it's free, man. It's on PlayStation Network. That's one thing
Yeah,
I'm wondering as well. Whatever deal they made with that dev, to, is it Mediatonic? I forget the name, but whatever deal PlayStation made with that dev to get it on PlayStation, for whatever timed amount that they're doing it. I feel like PlayStation needs to push harder and just acquire that dev, because I think this is going to be a huge property. It's like a kid friendly, family friendly. Anyone can jump into it. You're seeing the numbers on Steam and on Twitch. It's streaming so well. It's so
yeah.
popular. Buy that dev, man. Like you need to lock that down. And I don't know if the dev is interested,
Mhm.
but whatever money Sony has in the vault, just like throw it at that dev and acquire them.
Yeah. Well, it's like psionics, isn't it? I mean, this is the exact same situation Rocket League
Mm,
was in. Where it was released for free on Plus, and then it became just absolutely huge.
right.
It still is. And yeah, and everyone was saying then, PlayStation need to buy Psionics because it's on PlayStation that Rocket League's become so big because of PlayStation Plus. It'd be, it makes so much sense to buy them and then get a share of whatever money they're going to make. But then Epic went out and bought them. So
Mm.
yeah, I think you're right. I think Sony, it'd be smart for Sony to sort of do something about it because it seems to be hugely successful. I mean, it was one of the top selling games on Steam as well. And so yeah, so I think it's yeah, I think like you said, it'd be a smart move.
I think you're seeing some indie devs these past 5 years where you think the natural thing would be, if you have a huge company to buy you out, you would do that. But I think you're seeing
Mhm.
more resistance with indie devs. There's that cup head dev. I forget the name of them,
Yeah.
but they're also still independent. They had this
Hmm.
deal with Xbox, and they helped fund the game, but they eventually came to PlayStation. They're free to make their own decisions, and they're still
Hmm.
huge and highly sought out. Anybody would buy them. So maybe it's the same with this
Yeah.
dev, where it's like, yeah, maybe there's no amount of money Sony would throw at them because they're going to be fine on their own and they can make all the decisions on their own. So I guess why sell?
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah. I think you're right, and I mean it's people like Dead Cells as well, and they all work in a sort of a split profit kind of
Mm,
mentality, which is a really cool way to run a business. Um, Yeah, yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a shame for these big investor driven. I mean, I know that pretty much every company is investor driven to some extent, but these big PLC companies that are coming in and gobbling up everyone. I don't I see. I don't think, but I think Sony are quite. They seem to be quite good with their studios from what I've seen. I mean, they
yeah,
they seem to nurture them quite well, and I mean, I'm sure there's cases of the opposite happening, but yeah, I think it's nice to see independent studios. I mean, it's like Insomniac; they were pretty much independent until PlayStation finally bought them.
right.
Um, who else is it? Sumo Digital. I think they're still independent
Who
as
does
well.
what does Sumo
Um,
do? I know I've heard of that dev, but I'm blanking on what they
they're
work on.
doing the Sackboy game.
Oh, gotcha.
PlayStation. And they've got a couple. Like my friend works for one of Sumo's like offshoot studios called the Chinese Room.
Mm,
So the Chinese Room were bought by Sumo fairly recently, or in the last few years, and he works there in like their IT. They've just released a game on the Apple Arcade. I can't remember what it's called. And they
okay.
also made that Everybody's Gone to the Rapture.
Yeah,
Have you ever
yeah.
played
I never
that before?
finished it, but I started playing the beginning of it,
Yeah,
and it was a cool experience, man.
yeah. Yeah. So they made that, and then but I think Sumo also are doing. God, what else? I think they were doing Dead Island 2. So and then I think they gave I don't know. They're an independent studio, but they act like quite a big company now. They buy other people,
I see.
but yeah, I think they are still an independent company just with subsidiaries as well.
Gotcha. Now we can go into the news next, but there's an article I didn't have pulled up just because it's not PlayStation related, but it was pretty big. I want to get your takes on this because we had covered that Xbox event where they showed off a lot of next gen stuff. They showed off Halo, and just this week
Hmm.
they announced that they're going to delay Halo to 2021, Halo Infinite.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts when you had seen that?
Um. Yeah. I mean, it's the same with other games. I mean, it's you'd rather see a game delayed than come out and need to have been delayed. But it's a tough one because it coincided with Xbox's launch.
Right?
But it does make you wonder whether they did this because of the outrage, and if they did, I think that they shouldn't have done that. They should have stuck to their guns. Um, and I there was an article from 343 which I thought was really good, where they were saying like we understand the comments, but we've made a decision to try and go back to this simpler art style, and we're going to stick with it. And I thought that was really good. I thought it was a good way to, because as a creative, you at some point you have to say, well, look, this is the decision we've made. You might not like it, that's fine. But this is what we felt was the right thing to do, and whether or not that's the right thing to do or not, that's what they're going to do. So I think I just hope they're not delaying it to try and like pander to everybody, because I really don't think that the real that outrage was really that warranted. I think it was mostly like a bit of a meme, a bit of a
Yeah.
people just trying to like make jokes about it, because it really wasn't that bad. It looked fine when we saw it. But yeah, hopefully it's because of actual reasons. I mean, I think they cited COVID making it difficult, and just wanting to make some finishing touches. So in that respect, I think that's fine. I think good luck to them, and hopefully the extra time will help. But yeah, I think with all the outrage that there was and the Xbox's launch, it's a bit of a different situation this time round, and so yeah, so hopefully it doesn't cause too much problems, because I think that means that there's literally nothing coming to Xbox that is separating it from everything else. So I don't really know what they're going to do there, but yeah, we'll have to see how that comes out.
Yeah, no, I mean, lastly, you mentioned what does the Xbox have to offer with Series X when it launches, and that's their next hurdle is to still sell this in a way that is worth picking up. I guess they could lean into the third party like really strongly, because you have Valhalla coming
Yeah,
out. You have, assuming Cyberpunk doesn't get delayed, because now people are wondering, okay, is that the next big one to be pushed back?
yeah,
But assuming Cyberpunk
yeah,
isn't delayed, you can lean into these third party stuff and show like, hey, it's going to be best if you play it on Series X. It's going to look the best. But I think a lot of the next gen upgrades for these titles aren't going to be day one. I think they're still pushed to, sometime close to launch, but they're not saying that. I think even with Valhalla, it's not going to be day one. You get the next gen upgrade. They're still working on that next gen upgrade. I could be wrong, but so I don't know if they'll have
yeah,
these ready by the release of the Series X. But yeah, I guess you can still paint the narrative of just leaning on those third parties and showing like this is the reason why you want to get a Series X. At the same time, the
yeah,
Xbox really has been pushing why you need a Series X, because their whole mantra is still that you can play these games anywhere. So I guess it'd be weird for them
mhm,
to now say, no, you need to buy this console. I think they're not worried where or when you buy this console, as long as you just get Game Pass or something, like as long as you stay in that ecosystem, however you do it. But it's interesting. It's a huge bummer because I was excited for this, but you're right, where you don't want to, I don't know if you mentioned that, but you don't want to fuck up Halo. Like Halo is so synonymous
yeah,
with Xbox, you can't mess that up. Especially the last couple times, the what with
yeah.
Halo
Where they've already
5,
done it twice.
right? So like it's such a bad taste in
Yeah,
people's mouth. And I think the PC release of Master Chief has been kind of bringing the good graces back
mhm,
with gamers. But you don't want to launch
yeah,
with this being a lackluster kind of experience. And I was fine with the visuals too, but maybe this gives them just the more time to really make this look and squash all the haters out there and make this look like a next gen experience,
yeah,
whatever that
yeah,
will be. It's just tough. I mean, I'm thinking they should at least take a year. Take the year, and next fall we see this thing looking with all the bells and whistles. The ray tracing is included. The multiplayer is ready to go, and you just have this being the best launch that you can have. There's also conversation people are having of, do we see, is the Xbox One version of this holding it back? Is that any reason at all why they
mhm,
are struggling and needing more time? And if that's the case, just make this a Series X exclusive. I think that's the benefit that PS5 has
yeah,
going forward, is that they're not forcing their devs to make sure this works on everything. It's just use all the hardware, use all its capabilities, and so you're not bogged down by making sure this works on the old gen or the current gen, which possibly adds more
mhm.
time and more effort into the whole dev cycle.
Yeah, this is going to be the biggest problem I think they're going to face, is getting these things working on these other Xboxes. And maybe that's why xCloud is becoming such a bigger thing,
Yeah.
especially on Game Pass, because maybe one day it's just Xbox Ones are just going to be these xCloud streaming machines, basically, because it'll be like this game will only work on Xbox One if you play it through xCloud, because it can't work on that hardware. It has
Right.
to be streamed. Um, so yeah, it's interesting. I'm very interested to see how Xbox deal with everything, because I mean, I'm not too. I mean, I think Game Pass is one of the best things in the industry, but in terms of what Xbox are doing to separate themselves, I don't think there's a lot. Because I don't even have an Xbox. Yet I have a PC which I can play everything on,
To basically, yeah, have
because
an
of Game Pass.
Xbox with a PC.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I don't really. I know that the Xbox Series X, even if it comes out at like $500, that's still a great price for what you're going to be able to play on it, and it's probably going to be better than my PC. And I've spent way more than $500 on my PC, but um, I don't know. Yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see, because they're both coming at it from very different angles.
Hmm.
But the only thing I do honestly believe is that Microsoft seem to be acting like they don't care about competition and being involved. But I feel like the only reason they're acting like that is because they couldn't. They couldn't do it. They couldn't keep up with PlayStation and
Yeah.
offer the same sort of thing. So I think this is sort of like their plan B. They're like, oh no, we never lost. We never cared anyway, kind of thing. Um, yeah, so I'm just really, it's kind of like watching like a soap opera. Like, I'm just really intrigued to see how everything goes, really, because I mean, like yourself, neither of us care about these console wars and all that stuff. So it's quite nice being able to look at it from just a completely neutral standpoint, and just see who's doing badly, who's doing well, and seeing them swap around, because they do that as well. So yeah, it's just interesting to and things to look forward to looking at.
Yeah, no, same here. I mean, we're Sweden or whatever the country is that kind of takes an outside
Yeah,
approach when all the world wars happen. But yeah, no, I'm thinking it's more of like from the outsider looking in. I want them to be successful. Because I think that's where you get a lot of with Xbox because they're on the back ropes there against the wall. They become more consumer friendly. They make all these chances to kind of get in good graces and build that community more because they're arguably losing those players. So I want to see some of that with Sony. I want to see them up against the wall with the competition wise, so they are forced to be more consumer friendly and have these different features like crossplay, like what have you, that are just um,
Mhm.
fan favorites, to get in good graces. Right now, Sony has no reason to do that because they are ahead. So I want to see them both kind of really compete to where they force each other to make these changes and try and get the edge on each other. Because then we win when they do stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing. You just gotta be able to play what you want to play and just enjoy seeing everything. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully, we'll see Halo soon enough, and we've got the Master Chief Collection to tide us over till then.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I just saw that. That was a huge thing this week. But what also will kind of transition some of the articles here. What happened last week was that PlayStation State of Play, and they told us going forward we're not going to see any big PS5 news. There was some PS5 games that they kind of reiterated and talked about. But yeah, we'll jump into it. So we got PlayStation State of Play August 2020. Every game announced and revealed. This is Jordan Serrani at IGN. On Thursday, Sony aired an all-new PlayStation State of Play highlighting PS4 and PSVR games with a few updates on previously unannounced PS5 titles. Crash 4 developer Toys for Bob showed off a fresh look of the upcoming 3D platformer and announced inverted mode, which adds a totally new and dynamic look and feel to each level. The developer also revealed Dingodile will be a playable character in the game. And I don't know if you saw the footage. It's just more of a of a trailer showing off some of the gameplay. But as we get closer to it, I'm just more and more stoked for Crash. And like the trailer itself looks crazy beautiful, and it kind of reminds me of now I'm blanking on it, but that PlayStation property. It also got a remaster or a reboot, Ratchet and Clank. It's on that par of
Yes.
quality with the. I would argue with how it looks. Like it looks like a
Mhm.
Disney movie.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it looks great. I didn't quite understand because I was saying to you before that I've only been able to sort of scan the state of play. I haven't had the chance to watch it all this week, but yeah, I saw they had like the split screen mode and like the different characters to play at, or not split screen mode. Sorry, they showed it off in like a split screen where you can sort of replay levels in different ways and
Oh, gotcha.
things like that. And yeah, it seems really cool. Yeah, I mean, I think we need more platformers like that, and in a way, it was quite nice to see how it's just. I mean, all the new things they were talking about, they're really cool, but then, I mean, nothing was like complex or like innovative. But I think sometimes that's what you want. You just want something familiar,
Yep.
something easy to understand, something to sink your teeth in, and something that just brings you back to that time of games where it was all about collecting everything and doing these difficult platforming bits and just having stupid fun storylines. Like I saw that it's about the two villains, is it Neocortex and whatever the other guy's called. And they like break out of this like space prison and they like leave like
Right.
a tear in the universe. And it's just all stupid fun stuff. And I think there's not enough games like that. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing. In fact, that the Insane Trilogy is probably a game I should pick up again because I only did the first one and it was so excruciatingly hard that I couldn't be bothered to do the second and the third.
See, that's the thing where I'm super stoked for this release because that's what the devs are saying. Like they're kind of changing stuff. They're doing some quality of life improvements. Where with that remaster with the Insane Trilogy, it was still the same gameplay, the same for better or for worse.
Yeah,
So like it was that same feel of it. But if they can kind of improve and kind of bring this up to date with how you move around. And that's more than welcome for me because yeah, that Insane Trilogy is super hard, but it's also they didn't change the core gameplay. So because of that, you're locked
yeah,
into that PS1 era style of playing of movement. So if they can
yeah,
upgrade this and they're adding different puzzle mechanics and like platform mechanics, so yeah, I'm super on board with this.
yeah, yeah. It looks like great fun, and yeah, like I said, it's something. It's just a welcome game to have. It comes out. Is it October? It comes out.
October or September. It's very soon. I
Yeah, it's soon. Yeah, yeah.
can
So
lock
I'll
that
probably
down.
have to do Crash Bandicoot next, won't I? Because I have to make sure I'm like up to date with the story and the characters.
Right,
Because
it's very important.
yeah, exactly.
Now, the next one here is Hitman Trilogy to be playable in PSVR. So, IO's Hitman Trilogy, including the forthcoming Hitman 3, will be fully playable in PSVR. PSVR support will be available for Hitman 3 when it launches in January 2021. So, they showed off a trailer, which was just a very short kind of intro to what you can experience, but it shows the main Hitman dude. Was it Agent Zero, Agent One, something like that, Agent Skarn? And he's
Agent 47.
there you go. I was close. Um,
Yeah, close. Yeah.
but yeah, he's at it starts with that traditional gameplay, and then you zoom into his head, his field of view, and
Yeah.
it looks really cool. I mean, this is a game that I think lends really well to VR, because with VR you don't want to have too many jarring motions or moving too quickly, and this is just you're walking at the normal pace, and it's just I feel like this perfectly fits this kind of environment. But yeah, I'm really stoked for this.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's awesome, and I think the fact it's like added it to the previous games is really really cool. Um, yeah, I think I never really thought about Hitman VR, but it is perfect, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like just the most perfect game to have in VR. Even just having like a first person mode, it just would have been cool. In fact, I think I was talking to my friend about this the other day when it was first announced about the VR. About I think you go into first person on Blood Money, which was
Oh,
on
okay.
like PS2 and 360 and all that. I think you go into like first person mode, but it's very like on like these older games where you could just sometimes switch the camera to your eyes. It's kind of like that kind of thing. So yeah, I think it's really really cool. It's I think that's like one of the most exciting things that I saw from the state of play thing. I think it's a really 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 good idea.
Right. Now, some of these we can kind of skim through, but we got Braid Anniversary Edition announced. An upgraded version of Braid, the acclaimed 2008 puzzle platformer, will be released for PS4 and PS5 in early 2021. The new edition has been hand repainted for modern high resolutions with 9 pixels to every one in the original. It also features new animations, improved sound and music, and hours of developer commentary. Did you play this Braid when it initially came out? This was one of the first ones that kind of kicked off this renaissance of like indie games on these console platforms. Like I think it was Xbox Summer Arcade. This was the first kind of
Mhm.
premier one, and then it kicked it all off where these console manufacturers were seeking out these indie devs and then blowing them up on their platform.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I never played it. I think it'll be cool for the original developer or however many people made it to revisit it and really sort of because for them it'll be really nice for them to like revisit it and talk about the developer commentaries to talk about what it was like to make it, and it'll just be nice for them to sort of relive that first project or those earlier days, and it should be quite nice for them to do that. So it'll be nice for obviously the fans of Braid, but I think it'll be a nice game for them to make as well. It'll be nice and like a trip down memory lane for them. So yeah, that's a cool little announcement.
Yeah, and so that dev, I had to Google it. I forgot the name off the top of my head, but it's Jonathan Blow. He also made with his team made The Witness on PS4.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you played that one, but that was that crazy. It was really difficult, but it was just a super unique idea where you move around this world in 3D, and all the puzzles are based on what you see. So sometimes there's like shadows in the ground, and you have to, by looking at them, actually match it. There's a pattern, and there's just tons of puzzles. And I eventually had to stop because I was too dumb to keep going forward. But it's
Yeah,
really cool.
yeah. I'm not smart enough to play puzzle games, so I normally just avoid them.
That's safe to do that. Don't try and stress your brain out too much, Callum.
Yeah, in fact, the best puzzles I've seen so far in Assassin's Creed Origins, when you go into tombs and you're like, oh, there's a puzzle. You just go into a room, you know it's a puzzle, and you go into these rooms, it looks really complicated. There's loads of things you can move, but like things you can press and
Yeah.
like counterweights you can pick up. But the actual solution's always really simple and requires like hardly any of the things actually in that room to get through. So I like that because it makes you walk into the room and think, oh, this is complicated, but then you solve it really easily and you think you're really clever. So I've got to give a shout out to Origins. Really complicated looking, but really, really easy
Mm.
puzzles.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's a dance involved. You want to make sure it's still, solvable, but it makes you feel
Yeah,
like, oh, I could maybe,
yeah,
work
exactly.
on robotics or something after this.
Yeah.
So the next one we got is Spelunky 2 release date announced. It's coming to PS4 on September 15th. Are you a fan of the Spelunky games at all? I've kind of I think I own them on PS4, just like maybe it was a free PSN
Yeah,
game at some point. My buddy Gavin really loves them. He's trying to get me into it, but have you played them all?
yeah. I played a little bit. I played it back when I didn't really understand roguelikes. I didn't really understand the point in them. But it's a game I've always wanted to go back to because I know people love it. I've never really been into roguelikes, really. I'm not the biggest fan of like these permadeath kind of games. Um, I like the idea on paper, but yeah, in fact, I'm not really into like 2D platformers that much anymore.
Gotcha.
I try and play them, but I don't know if I'm not good at them or there's just something about them I'm not 100% keen on. But no, that's really cool that there's a second game coming out. That's huge. I mean, it's a massive, massive game, the first Spelunky.
Right.
So that will be a really, really big, and for it to come out so soon as well. Um, I mean, September 15th. That's like just over a month away.
Yeah.
It's yeah, really cool news. Unless that's already been announced and I just didn't hear it because I'm stupid.
Well,
But
I think it's been announced, shown off, but this is the first like actual date they've locked down, I want to say.
oh, okay. So yeah, that's pretty soon then. Yeah. So yeah, there'll be a lot of people excited about that.
Yeah, for sure. So we got next one here, Vader Immortal PSVR release date announced. So Star Wars Vader Immortal is coming to PSVR on August 25th. Sony announced during its State of Play broadcast. The canon Star Wars adventure was previously exclusive to Oculus. This is one I keep as I go through the YouTube rabbit hole of like what are the best Oculus games to experience. This one is always at the top of the list, and so it's cool to get this on PSVR. Although I think on Oculus there's been episodes released and you had to buy them individually.
Yeah.
I'm hoping this is all of them
Yeah.
together on PSVR.
Yeah, I think it was so on my brother's VR. I think on his Oculus, I think he got the. I don't know if it was like depending on the time you bought it or whatever, but he's got the first two episodes for free. They like came included,
Oh, nice.
to try and sort of like entice you in to buy the rest. And yeah, and I've played probably about half of the first episode, and it's really good. It's really good fun. You really feel like you're in Star Wars,
Do you
and
play
like
as Vader?
the no, you play as a sort of like an engineer,
Ah,
and you basically get like sucked into a big Imperial ship, and you have to try and get out. You find a lightsaber and all the rest of it. But you meet Vader, which is really cool. You sort of get to like stare up at him, be really scared of him. Um, but yeah, no, it's really great. There's some really cool like platforming parts. Again, I didn't get very far, so there's probably loads that really really cool stuff I haven't even seen. But because you're on Mustafar, which is obviously the planet they fight in episode 3, the big lava planet.
yeah, okay.
Um, and you're sort of like climbing on the outside. I don't know if Half-Life Alex has got any climbing bits, but like
Yeah,
it feels really weird when you're like pulling yourself up.
yep.
And there's lots of that, and like sort of looking down, and yeah, it's pretty scary. And I'm terrified of heights, so it doesn't help. But yeah, there's a lot of really really cool stuff in that game. It definitely feels like a showcase of what VR can do. But it's set in Star Wars settings, so you can't really go wrong with it.
I guess I must not have looked at very much footage, but I assumed that you play as Vader. That's what always seemed cool to me about this, and I guess I'm kind of bummed that you're not. I want like a Vader simulator,
Hmm.
but at the same time, if they do
Yeah.
it like sort of like Alien Isolation, where you have this big bad that you cannot go up against, and you basically have to
Mhm.
run away and kind of scheme to try and survive because Vader is this all
Yeah.
powerful,
Yeah.
Jedi no one can mess with on the dark side. But yeah, no, it's interesting, but I need to actually
Yeah.
try this game.
Yeah. In fact, on that point, that reminds me that was one thing I loved about Jedi Fallen Order was the ending with Vader, and he is so you don't fight him. It's just sort of like a kind of like a scripted bit, but
Right.
they just make him out to be so powerful, and it is really really cool. And yeah, I think that's the best thing about Darth Vader, especially in like Rogue One, where they just make him seem so powerful.
Yeah, I love that scene.
But yeah, but it even gets to the point where you watch like the old Star Wars films, and because they're so old now, it's kind of like he doesn't give off that same sort of vibe. So it's nice to see him in like the more modern take on him, where he is like super powerful and scary, and yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's kind of something they've turned the narrative into, that Vader's just someone you
Mm.
do not mess with. But yeah, in the originals he wasn't as bad. People would kind of backtalk him all the time,
Yeah,
and now you don't
yeah,
even think about
yeah.
crossing him. But
No.
so this next one here, I have the trailer, the link if you want to watch at the same time. This is Hood Outlaws and Legends announced for PS5. I think this is a new PS5 game. So this is Hood Outlaws and Legends has been announced for PS5. Set during Britain's dark ages, Hood is a third-person 4v4 multiplayer heist game the developer Sumo Newcastle calls a dark and gritty reimagining of the Robin Hood legend. And I have not seen any footage of this.
Cool. Yeah,
Let me
let me
know when you're going to hit play, and I'll hit play at the same time.
yeah, I'll hit play now.
Okay, cool.
Forest shadows
Yeah, I like pretty much anything that's sort of in history, really.
Right, I saw the description. I thought,
Sort
okay,
of
this
like
would
the
be right up
period
your
of
alley.
yeah, yeah. So Sumo are that company we were just talking about, the one
Oh,
that own
gotcha.
Chinese
Is
room.
Sumo Newcastle just another offshoot of them, or like a different region?
Yeah, so I think their main office is in Sheffield, I want to say, and then I think they've also got a Newcastle office because yeah, they are getting quite big now. And
Mm,
Chinese room, the studio they own is in Brighton, which is sort of south coast.
gotcha.
Yeah, they're sort of one of these studios that like I don't really know what kind of games they make. Because they're obviously making the Sackboy game. They got a lot of subsidiaries that make sort of specific games. So I don't really feel like they have really much of an identity yet.
Yeah, that's true. I'm taking it this is maybe this is that part is in game. Okay, I think we're seeing possibly in game. I think it started off with maybe a CG component,
Yeah.
but this could be PS5 footage.
And the people call us heroes. From the day or night. To others.
Now the whole 4v4 thing, I'm just not a fan of this type of gameplay, but these always look really cool. But like the Predator one that released recently, I'm just never that interested in playing it in this style. Like I'd rather do single player, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think it looks rough enough where that could be PS5 footage gameplay.
Oh, so it's showing gameplay at the end.
Oh, here we go. Okay. Yeah, this kind of looks current gen, but
Legends.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks fine.
yeah.
It looks all right. I probably won't get it.
Right. Yeah, they might do
Yeah,
like
it
a
looks,
free thing.
it looks quite rough. Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether it seemed worth showing it a state of play, but yeah, I mean,
Padding, I think, to kind of, you know,
yeah, I
create
mean,
enough space.
there are people who love those kind of like what's the word? Is it? It's not isometric. It's something like that.
No, but like that multiplayer kind of genre
Yeah,
thing you're talking about. Okay.
yeah, like where you have sort of like one team doing one thing and one team doing the other, and it's kind of
Maybe like
like
Rainbow
objective
Six
based.
Siege or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, yeah. I mean, hopefully it'll be cool, but yeah, I'm not interested.
Gotcha. Well, I got it for you for Christmas. I guess I will return it. So
Yeah,
that's
that's right.
on.
I'll set up eBay. There we go.
There you go. So the next one here, we have to watch the trailer, but it's just some Control news. So we got Control AWE expansion dated. The second expansion for Control AWE will be released on August 27th. The new trailer featured a glimpse of Alan Wake, confirming AWE as Remedy's suspected Control Alan Wake crossover. So the little asterisks and news that has popped up since then too. Remedy Entertainment has confirmed it is working on a future game that takes place in the same universe as Control and Alan Wake. So aside from this next DLC thing, which is the last for Control, their Remedy's working on a separate game that's still in this universe too. So whether it's Control or Alan Wake or the two combined, they're working on the next entry right now as well. But yeah, I feel like they put out a lot of content for Control. Like this is the last one, but there's been quite a bit of updates supporting this game for the past year, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's cool to see it supported. I think we'll probably get into
Yeah.
their most, which sort of sours it all. But yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Alan Wake. But it's cool. I know that loads of people love it, so it's really, really cool that they're going back to that franchise and crossing them over. Hopefully, they'll sort of do it justice. Sometimes these weird crossovers can kind of ruin a game, especially something as I know Alan Wake's already had that really weird American Nightmare DLC.
Mm,
But it always seemed fairly grounded in the way it was told. Like it was told like a really serious, thriller.
right.
I think that was kind of the point with him being like a writer. Um, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I probably won't play it just because obviously I haven't played Control, and also yeah, like I said, Alan Wake. I'm not the biggest fan of Alan Wake, and as you know, I don't like playing things that are like based on things that I don't know very much about.
Gotcha.
So I'll probably give that a miss. But no, yeah, like you said, it's really cool that it's not really the kind of game you'd expect to be supported with lots of expansion. So it's good to see that. But yeah, I'm guessing you'll probably give it a go, right?
I think so. It depends on how much this is. I think I'm not sure if this is free because I think some of the other DLC stuff has been free. Um, I forget because I bought this game like 3 different times, and it's something my buddy Gavin always gives me shit for because I bought it on PS4, PS5 rather when it came out first. No, sorry, I'm thinking Xbox Series or Xbox X. God damn, there's too many of these dumb names. Okay,
Yeah.
it was Xbox One X. Got it there because it was just like slightly had better graphics, and bought it on PS4 as well, like months later because a DLC premiered there first. And then when I got my PC, wanted to see ray tracing, so bought it there on PC. So that's also why this next tidbit burns me a bit after having owned 3 different versions of this game and supporting it. So this was announced yesterday, the day before. Control will only get a free next gen upgrade from the new Ultimate Edition. So existing owners of Control on console won't get a free upgrade to its PS5 or Xbox Series X versions, but those who buy a new Ultimate Edition due September 10th will. So that's a bummer. Not that we have these next gen consoles, but the fact that they could have easily made this a free update or something to that nature. But the fact that it's locked in to this Ultimate Edition, it kind of burns the players that bought this game early on. And I would argue that those players are valued because it's such a new property, such a weird property. You're kind of burning those customers that supported you at the beginning, and now you're not lending them the hand going into next gen, only kind of helping out the people that are new adopters to this.
Yeah, I think that's well, it just shows that that's why I'm smart to not buy it, because now I can buy this new Ultimate Edition and then
There
I've
you
got it
go.
on
It
PS5
benefits
as well.
you.
No, I think it's just ridiculous. People spend huge amounts of money on things like digital deluxe editions. I'm sure many people have done that on Control. So, yeah, they're not going to get a free upgrade and it looks really bad for Xbox as well, because Xbox are coming out like all these games have smart delivery. It's all going
Right.
to be free. You're going to play them anywhere. But then you're not going to be able to have Control. Like, does that mean it's not down to Xbox to make that decision? It's down to the individual games. So it kind of puts a hole in Xbox's narrative as well of, you know, boasting that all of their games are going to have smart delivery, but Control clearly doesn't. Yeah, I think it's really a really bad move, personally, and in fact, it's such a bad move. I can see them changing it, because it's just it's very anti-consumer sort of friendly. I know that there's a lot of grumblings of Control selling really poorly. I know apparently it didn't do very well commercially. So I don't know if this is their way of like making up a buck or not, but this isn't the way to do it. If you make a commercial dud, even though Control's like critically received really well, but if your game doesn't do well, then it's not up to you to shaft the few people that did buy it
Right.
into giving you more money. It's really bad. In fact, if this is because of the commercial sort of success of it, then surely it makes sense to give those who did buy it the free upgrade, and then allow all these people who haven't even bought it yet to then buy it on PS5 or Xbox Series X. Yeah, it's just you can't really find any sense in it at all. I don't know why I'm trying, but yeah, it's not a good move.
It isn't. No, and it's you mentioned like hopefully they change it. That's what I was thinking originally, but at the same time they would know that this would not be received well. So the fact that they would go forward with it makes you think that no matter what, this is a decision to make. And so whether it's, I imagine maybe it's not Remedy in particular, it's whatever publisher above them or is controlling and kind of hence the, ironically controlling what they're doing with this, with Control, how they release it, the financial stuff going on. So maybe it's beyond their control to change that, but it's just they knew the optics were going to be bad for this. So that makes me think they're not going to change this decision. But it's a huge bummer, especially me with my juggling my 4 or 5 copies of this game. It's like it sucks.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's just not a nice way to treat your fans, really. I don't think.
Right.
And I don't know. I do want to play Control, but that has kind of made me feel differently about it. To be honest, I don't know. It's weird. Like I will end up playing it probably, but yeah, that's kind of made me think. Well, maybe I don't really want to give you any money.
That's
Not that
true.
it'll make a difference to them, of course, but
That's the thing, and
um,
there's a conversation for voting with your wallet for sure. Yeah, I get that. It's just it's such a good game though. It sucks that, and that's the thing though. That's like now people have to make this decision: do I support this dev or not because of these negative decisions? But it sucks that this game is locked in that because this game is that was maybe my favorite game of last year. It was crazy awesome, so weird and unique, and so it's a huge bummer that this is wrapped up in this.
yeah, it definitely is.
Well, let's move on to the next one here. That was it for more the main, announcements for State of Play. But this one was this week. So Last of Us Part 2 update adds grounded difficulty, permadeath mode, and more. This is Matthew Gallant, lead systems designer at Naughty Dog on the PlayStation blog. We've been preparing a new update for The Last of Us Part 2, which introduces new features, gameplay modes, trophies, and more, including the much requested return of grounded difficulty. Best of all, it arrives August 13th. For veteran Last of Us fans, grounded difficulty represents the ultimate test of skill. This difficulty raises the stakes by not only making enemies deadlier and ammo, upgrade, and crafting materials incredibly scarce, but also removing invaluable tools for survival, such as disabling listen mode, deactivating elements of the HUD, and more. New graphics, audio, and gameplay modifiers are also added. Also, with this week's update, we're adding nearly 30 new graphics rendering modes, as well as several new audio modifiers that allow you to change the look and feel of the game. And so at that last part, the last Uncharted had this where it's like a 8-bit, 16-bit mode and like different audio changes and colorful mode. So they're adding all that stuff to Last of Us along with the permadeath. How do you feel? Was this enough to entice you to go and play it again? I know they updated the platinum where now this includes getting these achievements as well, or getting these as well.
Yeah, so I saw they've added like the sort of like DLC trophy. I think there's only 2 of them.
Yeah,
on there. But yeah, I won't bother going for grounded. I'll just get that horrible like 90% platinum that you end up getting when they add trophies. But yeah, no, it's cool. I've still got to play through my New Game Plus to get the platinum anyway. So I'll probably have a look at the new HUD things and the new audio and visual stuff they've added. But
Yep.
yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool that they're again supporting it, adding new things. I mean, all these kinds of things they're not easy, I imagine, to do. So it shows that there's still like a skeleton team working on keeping the game sort of available to others. And yeah, no, it's cool. I'll definitely have a look when I next play it. I think I'm like halfway. I think I'm like nearing the character switch over in my New Game Plus.
Gotcha.
So whether or not I go back to that soon, but at least I know there's something newish to waiting for me when I go back to it.
Yeah, I was wondering when the Last of Us 2 originally launched, it didn't have any of those. Or I guess once I finished the game, I was looking at some of the unlocks and stuff, and you have your like character models you can look at, but there wasn't that visual graphical changes that was in the last Uncharted. And I thought, okay, maybe it just doesn't serve this kind of theme to mess with how things look and make it like cartoony or 16-bit because it's such a serious game. So that made sense to me, like, oh, they're just not going to do it. But so I was kind of surprised that they are going to seek this out. And maybe it was something they had to not cut, but like postpone just to make sure this, reaches the deadline. It's like, we got to work on this stuff at another time because we got to make sure the bare bones of the game is ready to go. And then Grounded, I never played it in the first one just because I don't need to be extra hard. It's just, it's already fine for me how it is. So yeah, those never really or called out to me, but especially with the permadeath mode, like I saw this GIF today of this guy. He's playing he's streaming it. He's playing the Last of Us playthrough, and there's a point where he's climbing a rope as Ellie, and he switches to his menu and then switches back out, and that causes Ellie to let go of the rope and then fall to her death. And he's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours into the game at that point, and just screams in anger. It's like, I want nothing to do with that.
Yeah, well, that's what you get when you play permadeath. You're
Right.
subjecting yourself. It's like, I'm just glad that all these trophies have been added in after, so they don't affect the platinum. Because like,
Yeah.
it could have been another Wolfenstein 2, where that one of the trophies on that was to play it on this new difficulty, which meant it was like the hardest difficulty in terms of like enemies and health and everything. And that game's already bloody hard on normal.
Yeah.
And yeah, and if you die, you have to start from the very beginning. And I think that I remember the platinum trophy on that game was at 0.0% for months and months until some absolute mental person managed to get it.
Right.
Yeah, I remember knowing about that trophy because there was sort of a big thing about it before it came out. And I loved Wolfenstein 2, but I remember I played it on maybe like the second hardest difficulty, and then I turned it down because it was too hard. And even then, I was stuck on it in places for it's such a difficult game. So to do that on the hardest difficulty and not die is mad. But yeah, I'm just glad that it was an afterthought and put
Yeah.
in so it doesn't affect my platinum trophy.
Right, because those are so outlier kind of things where only like this super low percentage of people are actually even going to attempt that, let alone complete it. So, and then everyone else who is a completionist, wants to still be able to achieve that. And so, yeah, leave it for, must be like trophy plus situation where it's like it's just for the normals can be in the original launch, and then you can have these insane people that want to try and achieve that.
Although saying that, I mean, there's no difficulty trophy anyway in the game, so maybe they could have added it in and then just not had a trophy for it. But yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool as well because they've got so many accessibility things. This is like the complete opposite. Like you
Right.
can choose to just like, 'cause, like there's an option in the game, I think, to just not take damage. Like you can
Oh,
just
sure. Like,
choose the
because you can
enemies.
kind of slide, those different variables. So you might be right.
There's like an accessibility option. It might be for like, I don't know, like disabled gamers or something, where enemies just don't hit you. They just don't hurt you,
Mm.
which is quite an interesting accessibility thing. Um, and also something that I've been considering turning on in my new game
Yeah.
plus.
Yeah, you might not. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool, Callum. We'll move on to the next one here. This is some slight Spider-Man Miles Morales news. So there was a interview with Entertainment Weekly where they got an exclusive conversation and screenshot with Insomniac. So new Spider-Man Miles Morales screenshot and info. Entertainment Weekly has this exclusive PS5 screenshot and interview with Insomniac that has revealed some more news on the game. So some actual bullet points here. Sounds like Peter will show up to train together with Miles in the game. Miles is his own Spider-Man with his own animations, movements, and abilities, including Bioshock and invisibility. Insomniac says it's a complete story. The revealed in-game screenshot seems to reveal ray tracing as well. So I'll have the screenshots posted up here to show what's going on, or I did. But what do you think of? It's really not much to pick apart, but the fact that I think they're talking about how and kind of reacting to people saying, okay, is this just like reskinned Spider-Man from the last game? But it seems like he has his own animations and movements to make it special for this release.
I can't wait for this. I'm so excited. I don't know why a lot of people it's sort of being used again in this weird console war rhetoric online. It's kind of being used as like, oh, it's not even a full game, it's a DLC, blah blah blah. Which is just not true. I mean, they've likened it to Lost Legacy, which a lot of people, myself included, think was better than Uncharted 4. Um, so I don't think that that's to say it's not a real game or anything like that, which a lot of people are saying is just wrong. And I think that this is just Insomniac sort of trying to like reiterate that it's its own game. It's a complete story. He's going to have different abilities. It's not going to be a reskin.
Right.
So yeah, I'm really excited. I think it looks lush. I think that the screenshot that seems to show some ray tracing is cool if that's sort of in game. Yeah, I think it's just a brilliant launch title as well. I mean, I'm hoping that it is a little bit shorter than the first game. Not that the first game is too long, but just because it'll be nice to have these nice little bite-size experiences on a new console, because it allows you to not just stick with. I mean, imagine having like a 80-hour game like Assassin's Creed Odyssey as like a launch game on PS5. It's like you just got this brand new console and you spent like the next 2 months of it just playing the same game.
Right.
You want to sort of experience different things, and there's always that like honeymoon period where you're playing all these obscure games that you never play normally just because they're on the new console. Um, so I think it's perfect. I think having a game like this and Ratchet and Clank, which will probably be quite an easily digested experience as well. I think it's a great little duo, and they're both done by Insomniac. Um, so yeah, really exciting. Every time anything I hear about this is exciting, and it's cool to know that Peter will be in it because I think that Peter Parker in the games version of him is a really amazing character. I think I've said before that the story was the unexpected winner of that of the PS4 Spider-Man game. I didn't expect the story to be as good as it was and to pull me through as much as it did. But
Yeah.
so I'm hoping to expect some more of that, and it'll be nice to see some more Peter and Miles time.
Yeah, no, same on my side. People have been picking apart, or I guess I don't know if it's an intentional reference, but the fact that the screenshot that they showed off of Miles, he has his hand on that puddle, which shows that reflection, but also calls back to
Yeah.
that Puddlegate drama they had with the original Spider-Man on PS4, where people are angry that the puddles were moved or changed at all. It was such a just non-story, but it blew up online.
So you just hate them.
Yeah, they suck. But yeah, no, I'm excited. Has this been confirmed to launch with PS5, or is this just like early window?
I let me have a look.
'Cause I feel
I'd
like
imagine it. Let's have a look here. How do you find things out?
or they've said
Well,
like holiday.
it says it's coming out end of 2020.
Okay, then that would
So
be launch window. Yeah,
uh, yeah, it says here the game was announced on June 11th for PlayStation 5. It's due to be released in Q4 2020 alongside the release of the PS5. So yeah,
gotcha.
it's just got it's the same release as the PS5. It's just because neither have been announced. It doesn't say. And it's coming out alongside a remastered version of Spider-Man, which is cool.
Yeah, if you can have
Hopefully, I'll have
remaster
it.
on Spider-Man or remaster Spider-Man on PS5, also with this on PS5,
Yeah.
that's a strong launch out of the gate, and that's enough to, I think, make a lot of people um, change gears or switch to that side with this launch, especially with Xbox losing Halo. It's like, what else do they have to offer that's exclusive to that console release? And
Mhm.
PS5 at least has this,
And 4K 60 FPS, which
right?
on a system that's probably going to cost like $500 is insane.
Ray
Like a graphics
tracing.
card alone that will be able to do 4K 60 is way more than $500. Um, and then you also have to get all the other parts and everything else, which are just as much. So, yeah, it's pretty amazing. Really, really excited to see it. And it's going to have all the different things like haptic feedback and the 3D audio. So it's going
Yep.
to take advantage of all these new things. So it's just another reason why it's obviously not going to be a reskin of Spider-Man or a really small experience. There's going to be so much to it, and yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah, and I guess you touched on something, and not to jump too far again into PC stuff, but there's an advantage with consoles where they're able to scale really well with whatever display you have. They scale to 1080p or to 4K and up-res stuff, and I guess that's tech. I'm sure it's on PC, but it's just not like always baked in, and that's something that consoles they have to do
No.
it really. But I think it
Yeah.
benefits where it's always looking as best as it can and kind of scaling to what your display is.
Yeah, I think they're trying to sort of introduce that into PC. I think Death Stranding has it, and I think Horizon has it, where it'll dynamically adjust things so you'll say what FPS you want, and it will just constantly be changing the settings to
I
make sure
see.
you're getting that FPS. I think it's in its infancy, so it probably doesn't work as fluidly as it can. But that is basically what consoles do. Consoles, because they're all the same every single, except like the every iteration, like one or two or whatever. But they're all made for the same thing. So these games can be optimized to high held to sort of work as well as they
Right.
can. So yeah, I mean it's so much. That's the thing. I mean, playing on a console is so much easier than playing on a PC because everything's done for you. And they're made for playing games. PCs you can play games on them, but that's not their main focus, their main purpose. So
You can
there's
do
a
your
lot that can go
taxes on
wrong as
them
well.
too, and Microsoft
Yeah,
Word. That's about it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. All the stupid, signed into Skype as soon as I turn it on.
Right.
Yeah,
That's something, as a new kind of PC player, that's something I think I respect and admire more about my time with consoles, is that it all just kind of works. Like, yeah, you're stuck with sometimes with updates at the beginning, but man, it all just works. And I do really admire that. With PC, there's a lot of
yeah,
tweaking. But of course, it's a whole conversation. Because like, there's more adjustments you can make. You have more control over your experience. You can customize more. But I just also really love now, being a PC player, how simple consoles are. Just plug it in, it works, we're good to go.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's and I mean there are some things that try it, like Steam Link, which is quite easy to use now if you've got like a smart TV, so you can stream Steam onto your TV and
Right.
things. But yeah, it's just, I mean, like I was saying to you about Assassin's Creed Origins, like it was working fine, then suddenly it just minimized itself one day, and then it was running really badly. I had to turn everything down, and I wouldn't ever have a problem like that on console.
Right.
But then the other argument is that apparently Assassin's Creed Origins doesn't look very nice on console, and it's a far better experience on PC, and visually anyway. Um, so there's all that as well, and there's so many different factors. But you can't say, for me anyway, you can't say one is better than the other because I mean, if I had to, I'd probably go with console just because of how easy it is. But they both have so many pros and cons to them that They're just completely different things. But at the end of the day, they're still for playing games, and the core fun you get out of them is the same, regardless of whether you're playing at 2 million FPS at 4K or at 1080p with 30 FPS. It's still it's fine. It's really not that big of a deal.
Yeah. Let's move on to a story. Also, not a big deal here. This is Marvel's Avengers includes exclusive skins for Virgin and Verizon customers. So this had popped on the news this week, and it's just a weird story. So this is Suraj Singh of Enemy.com. Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics seem to have more exclusive treats up their sleeves for next month's Marvel's Avengers, according to a new leak that shows exclusive skins for Virgin and Verizon network customers. Twitter user Play Avenger compiled a list of unannounced exclusive content for the upcoming superhero game, which includes skins, emotes, and future cosmetic releases. So this is a picture of the lineup of the Avengers, all with their exclusive, terrible-looking, corporate skins on them. How do you feel about this? I mean, this is overall like a negative, weird corporate move, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I like how it says for Virgin customers. That's about right. That's about right for the target.
They're not wrong
That's
there.
about right for the target audience for this game. I just hate everything about this game. And this is just making me hate it more. It's just everything just looks so boring and bad, and I mean every single character just looks so plain, and I just have nothing positive to say about it at all. And this is just disgusting to have like skins emotes because
Right.
of what network you're with.
Right.
It
Or if you
is
bought like
just
a Coca-Cola can or a Pepsi can or Doritos, it's like it's
yeah,
all just
right.
the same
Yeah,
stuff. It's gross.
yeah,
Also this week, there's that PS4 beta, or it launched on PS4, the beta rather,
yeah.
for like a timed exclusive, and so people are playing. Outlets are talking about it, and it's kind of lackluster, responses. It seems like it gets stale very quickly. While it does look,
Hmm.
a lot of the set pieces do look beautiful, but it seems like it's kind of a rinse repeat gameplay that grows old really fast.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. This is one of those games that I'm excited not to buy. Like, I'm excited not to spend any money on it. Um, I'm looking forward to it coming out so that I can not buy it. It is just it's just a horrible thing.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, yeah, you mentioned like being excited to not buy it, but yeah, I agree with like sending a message to these devs saying we don't want this. We want, look at how successful Spider-Man on PS4 was. It's a single player
Mhm.
experience built from the ground up. I think people want that. Or if they're going to have multiplayer, it's like a closed kind of system where they can play with their buddy on the couch or across the internet, but otherwise it's not like a Destiny kind of style of
No,
interaction with this. So yeah, I'm hoping that they take notice, or maybe this thing sells well. I think it's going to sell decent just because it's the Avengers,
sure,
but
yeah.
I just
Sure it
don't
will, yeah.
know. It's not, doesn't call out to me, but I'm sure they'll actually make
It
their money
seems like it's
back.
already made a huge amount of money.
Right. Yeah, they're already making deals with these companies. So I think that's going to help pay the bill
Yeah,
already.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's like you say about Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man seems to have been made as a game first, and then they put all the Spider-Man stuff into it. Like they've got a really fun core movement mechanic that's super fun to use. Um, it's not just set piece after set piece after set piece. It's a fun game with a fun gameplay loop. Whereas this is literally like it's just constant set piece after set, constant excitement, constant explosions, constant fighting, to the point where there's that like old sort of thing where it's like why Michael Bay films are so bad, because there's no downtime in them.
Right.
It's constant excitement, which means none of it is actually exciting because it all is, if that makes
You
sense.
get burned out. Yeah.
So yeah, so the Avengers doesn't have, from what I've played at Gamescom, for what I've seen as well. So I mean, there might be more to it. I don't know, but there doesn't seem to be anything other than big explosions. You're beating everyone up. There's a helicopter that's going to crash into a bridge, and after literally like half an hour, you're going to be like, I don't care anymore about helicopters. I don't care about throwing people with the Hulk anymore because I've done it.
Yeah.
There just doesn't seem to be anything like any real like meat to it. It's just like it's just like you might as well just make a bloody 3D animated film or something and just get us to watch that,
Right.
and then everyone can be dressed in different outfits depending on what, I don't know, what brand your monitor is or something.
Yeah, no, it is very strange, and I'm kind of thinking like picking apart as well the what is the origin to all this, because Marvel is involved with this release, and they're also involved
Mm.
with Spider-Man on PS4. But I guess because Sony still owns the rights to the Spider-Man character, maybe they had more control over the game they wanted to create, and giving it to Insomniac, and actually giving more creative control to Insomniac to like, hey, make this single player. Don't worry about always on abilities or like microtransactions. Like, just make this game and make it work. But it seems
Mhm.
like with this being multi-platform, and maybe Marvel has more control over the game that they want created, it's maybe more of that Marvel corporate machine saying like, hey, we want this massive multiplayer online where people buy these different credits and there's V-Bucks. You know, I feel like that's the more of the corporate machine making their way into it and controlling how this game is being made. And then Crystal Dynamics is just, I'm wondering if they're just stuck being told like, this is the game we want you to make, so make it, and they're just kind of at the helm of, you know, a corporation forcing these different unpopular, you know, mechanics in there. And I wonder if it
Mhm.
splits that way, or this is something Crystal Dynamics is also on board with or wants to do, the experience they want to provide. But they also came from Tomb Raider, creating these like specific narrative experiences. So I feel like if they could choose, they would build something that's more like Marvel Spider-Man or on PS4.
Mhm.
So it's very strange. I wonder who's pulling the strings and causing all this.
Yeah, I think as well, like it was announced what in 2017 or end of 2016, which
I feel like
when
around there,
was
yeah.
the all the Avengers films actually out?
Oh, Endgame. I want to
But I think
say Endgame was still yet to be out or had just came out. What?
so Age of Ultron came out in 2015. So it was revealed like way before Infinity War, way before like hundreds of Marvel films. Um, and so I think that there was a little bit of excitement then, but now it's just like, we've had four Avengers films.
Right.
Um, it's just, I don't know. I don't know what it is about it. Even when we first saw gameplay for it, I was like, this just doesn't look right. It doesn't. It looks like almost as though they want to cancel it, but they can't because they're too far gone, and they just have to release it now.
Mm.
Um, and I don't know, it just doesn't seem to have any redeeming qualities about it at all. I can't think of a single thing it does where, nobody's going to play this game and go, "Oh, do you remember Avengers did that really well?" Or "I love doing this in Avengers," or that bit in it. Like, it's just, it's just too late. It's just wasted time, I think, for everybody. And yeah, it does look nice, and the animations are nice and everything, but this is just like the nail in the coffin. This and the Spider-Man thing.
Right.
Um, it's just completely ruined it. Ruined any chance of me even remotely caring about it.
I think one way they could have separated this or make this unique experience or special experience is if they didn't have to make the characters look sort of like the movie characters
Yeah,
that they portray. So like the actual actors they
yeah,
portray. If they were able to do just like a completely different style, change up the entire characters, maybe from more like different origins in the comics, different points in the comics, or just completely change them from the ground up and do something unique. But this is like still, it's like a knockoff version of the movie, the way that the characters
yeah.
look, and it's just very strange. And so,
That's what I mean. Like the characters just look. They have no personality to their like look. They have no personality to their face. I think Hulk probably looks the best. I think Hulk looks quite good, but
yeah.
Captain America looks just like the complete default character to anything. And I don't know if you played Final Fantasy VII remakes, but Final Fantasy VII's remake, but people were like really upset about the NPCs in that because they all looked completely plain and basic and had really basic, and that's what they look like. They're the main characters of the game, and they look like the most basic NPCs you can find. It's almost as though they found some 3D character random generator or something
Yeah.
and just used that. There's just nothing behind them. Like, they're just dead, empty faces,
Yep.
which resemble very slightly their movie counterparts. And it's just, and I think that's it. That's the thing. Like Spider-Man, they focus on the character, wrote a really well fleshed out Peter Parker. Um, just had a really focused game, and this is just like, this game is literally, people know these characters, they're going to play for them, they're going to pay for them. Let's make it. Let's have explosions, and let's have them be able to play as whoever they want and buy skins, and it's just corporation, the video game. Like it's just,
Yeah, I think you're right
it's
on
just,
that.
yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, and I do want to be. I wish I felt more positive, but yeah, I think I end up where you are. It's
Yeah.
just like not unique enough, not special enough, not different enough. But we'll see when this thing comes out in a month. So hopefully, you know, there
Yeah.
actually is more meat on the bone with this. There is enough to keep people replaying it over and over again. But it's not for us, apparently.
No, definitely not.
Alrighty, Callum. Yeah, that's it for us this week. We'll end it there. Where can they find you online?
Bear Monroe on Twitter. I haven't been on too much recently, which is probably a good thing. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
normally the best place to
For your
find me.
sanity, I would avoid Twitter most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. But you can
It's
also
too hot. It's too hot to go on Twitter at the moment.
and you can keep up with the show as well on Plastic Heart Pod on Twitter. We will see you guys next week. Bye bye.
See you later.